Viewers, remember the Hindenburg Research report that was hyped by the Congress Party and the George Soros ecosystem to bleed the Adani Group by triggering a run on its shares that caused investors to lose $150 billion. Well, that outfit, Hindenburg Research, today suddenly shut shop. Literally out of the blue. We woke up to this news. It came from absolutely out of the blue, viewers. Its promoter, Nate Anderson, putting out a statement boasting about how his team, that wasn't actually even to begin with well versed with financial economics, shook empires, he says, but had now reached a point where his career had become a selfish act. A selfish act. He said, and I quote, "Someone once told me that at a certain point a successful career becomes a selfish act. Early on, I felt I needed to prove some things to myself. I have now finally found some comfort with myself, probably for the first time in my life," unquote. The statement is a long one, and he goes into complimenting his team and how he picked them up and now how he wants this entire platform to become open source. So all his research he wants to put out there. We're waiting for that, of course. But what those selfish acts were, we won't know, viewers, unless Anderson explains himself. But could they possibly include his organization becoming a weapon in the hands of some who wanted to cause upheaval in certain parts of the world for some pecuniary gain? Was he sort of putting out his research for reasons beyond the scope of what it was meant for, viewers, for a price? Is that what he's talking about? We don't know. But the BJP clearly seems to think this and has attacked the opposition, particularly the Congress Party, for becoming a vehicle promoting Hindenburg's hit jobs. Now, Shahzad Poonawalla, BJP national spokesperson, says, and I quote him, "Whatever Hindenburg was doing to create economic upheaval and anarchy in India was a sponsored hit job. The Supreme Court took none of their reports seriously. It was funded by elements who are anti-India. Rahul Gandhi asks, and I quote, 'Your international alliance partner Hindenburg has shut its shop. Now, when will you stop your propaganda against India? What is your relationship with Hindenburg? Was it a Soros-sponsored report?' Unquote. The Congress hit back at the BJP, saying that its questions on Modi-Adani links weren't entirely based on Hindenburg's findings, and the issue was deeper than the BJP is making out to be. Jairam Ramesh, as usual, coming up and saying, this doesn't mean a clean chit. We asked 100 questions, but only 21 questions are based on Hindenburg Research. Rest of the 80 questions were based on the policies of the Modi government. Adani is being given all airports and security contracts," unquote. Now, noted lawyers Jay Anand Dehadrai and Mahesh Jethmalani, however, feel that Hindenburg shut shop because it was going to be investigated by the incoming Trump administration, which would uncover the, quote, "crooked puppets," unquote, who incentivized the agency's hit jobs against financial and ideological rivals. Mahesh Jethmalani, Supreme Court advocate, says, quote, "Either he has already been sounded out by investigating authorities in the US, or he fears that he will be investigated for his role in the attempt to shake India's economy by hammering of Adani shares," unquote. The views of Dehadrai and Jethmalani may not be entirely off the mark, viewers. There is little doubt that the Hindenburg organization was feeling the heat. Here's a telltale chronology. Just think this through. On the 1st of December 2024, Biden administration gets outed by Republican Trump loyalists for pursuing, quote, "selective action," unquote, through the Department of Justice against entities in countries that are vital US allies. Soon after that attack, US Attorney for Eastern District of New York, Breon Peace, who brought fraud and bribery charges against Republican heavyweight Adani Group chairman Gautam Adani and 7 other executives, announced his resignation. Republican Party leaders have claimed with, quote, "proof," unquote, that Breon Peace had links with Hungarian billionaire and self-professed regime change agent George Soros and was acting at the latter's behest. Now, viewers, when Indian companies grow and they become world competitors, then, viewers, other companies, especially US companies and other international conglomerates, fear the rise of other competitors. And they try every trick in the book to bring them down. Could this have been, therefore, viewers, something that Soros was energizing on behalf of the deep state? Representative Lance Gooden, a member of the House Judiciary Committee, wrote to Attorney General Merrick Garland on 14 January 2025, so about a month and a half later, saying that his action of, quote, chasing rumors abroad risks critical alliances with key US partners, unquote. Gooden also demanded that all the documents and records related to the Justice Department's decision to probe Adani Group must be made public so that the evidence can be examined dispassionately. Now, viewers, Trump takes oath in 4 days. The Trump administration is likely to open investigations into the DOJ. And viewers, will the DOJ then have to explain perhaps some of these inconvenient alliances? Could the DOJ have supplied information to Hindenburg to short a company that was becoming a threat to major US companies? We don't know, viewers. The deep state works in a funny manner. And have certain Indian entities here become willing accomplices in this larger, much larger stratagem of hitting India, debilitating its economy, creating anarchy? These are fundamental questions. Shahzad Poonawala is here with us, the national spokesperson of BJP. Tehseen Poonawala, political analyst representing the opposition point of view. Jai Anant Dehadrai, a lawyer. First, let me begin with someone who's not associated with any political organization here. Now, Mr. Dehadrai, I've seen what you have put out and it makes a bit of sense. Could you elaborate on this? You seem to suggest that these people are all hitmen and there is a grand puppeteer who's got all these people hanging by some strings. Can you elaborate? Can you explain to our viewers where you're coming from?
Hi, Rahul. Good evening, and thank you for having me on your show tonight. See, it's like this. Let's just look at the facts, because I personally despise conspiracy theories, and I'm certainly not a conspiracy theorist myself. But the facts speak for themselves. You had some allegations that were initially put out by this Hindenburg group, self-serving, profiteering, of course, short sellers. That's not even the problem, really, that they were short sellers, but the fact that the information that they put out, which they portrayed to be genuine and correct information, was ultimately then tested by the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court appointed a 5-member committee of the finest security law experts in India. They tested that information that came in, and they found that this was all bunk. It was bogus. So you have this information that was put out by someone who is looking to profit from it, from the misery of Indian investors. The Indian Supreme Court no less tests it, comes back and says that, look, this is all bunk. And now finally today we are hearing, or late last night, that this entity itself now is disbanding. Yeah. So what does that tell us? So that's, I feel personally vindicated. I've been saying this now for over a year and a half, that there is a larger global conspiracy that is at play. Not only, of course, consisting of these foreign elements, and Hindenburg is just one spoke in the wheel, but also certain entities that have helped Hindenburg and Hindenburg's, controllers who are based in India. So now all of that seems to be unraveling, according to me. And I certainly believe, Rahul, and you put it out, in fact, this morning, you put out that chronology very beautifully in your tweet. And you very rightly pointed out that this is no coincidence that in 4 days you have a new American administration coming in with Donald Trump assuming the presidency. He has, in fact, he's made it clear that the DOJ has been acting in a politically motivated fashion. But it's not just Trump. Why are we forgetting when Joe Biden's own son was being prosecuted by the DOJ? President Biden himself put out a statement raising questions about the impartiality of his so-called Department of Justice. So these are all facts, Rahul. I haven't come up with these facts. Neither have you. No one on this panel certainly has. But these are facts, and it's easy to see the common link, the thread, the pattern sort of emerging. And one final sort of thought, you mentioned Lance Gooden, the U.S. representative, the congressman, from Texas. And he wrote a very interesting letter to Merrick Garland, the Attorney General, and he said that, look, you better preserve all of the material, the justifications, file notings, and so forth, that led up to this decision to investigate Adani for alleged bribery that happened some 12,000 kilometers away. So now you have this news seemingly that is tightening around Hindenburg's associates. And now suddenly they disband 4 days, before a new president takes over. So my feeling is this, that Indian politicians, individuals based in India who irresponsibly touted this report as being gospel should be prosecuted, according to me, to the fullest extent permissible under the law.
You know what
because
my
they were
worry is?
irresponsible.
You know, I speak for the public interest because that's what I can do as a journalist. My worry is that who will give back to investors those billions of dollars that they lost because of this? I mean, I find it rather strange. It must be a mighty coincidence, and I want to bring in Shehzad Poonawalla on the Congress response. Mighty coincidence that on the one hand you had Hindenburg attacking Adani at the very same time the DOJ was investigating Adani. Mighty coincidence, but the Congress has come out and says, listen, don't simplistically join the dots. Just because Hindenburg has wrapped up its operation doesn't mean that our claims against Mr. Adani, the accusations of Mr. Modi and Mr. Adani doing business together are wrong. So Shehzad Poonawalla, could you respond to this Jairam Ramesh statement?
First of all, I completely agree that Jairam Ramesh has said that just because Hindenburg has wrapped up its operations yesterday, the Congress party has started its operations from a new building. So clearly the operations of destabilizing the Indian economy, of having a targeted hit job towards the Indian economy and using a sponsored Soros Supari gun to do that won't stop. And look, what did Rahul Gandhi yesterday say? He said that he wants to target the Indian state. The Indian state includes three elements. One, the Indian institutions, which they routinely abuse in, even on foreign soil, even though their own allies don't agree with them. The second element is the Indian economy, which they've been targeting through the likes of Hindenburg and making false claims and ensuring that Indian investors lose money. And the third is obviously the Indian Sena, which they routinely question and doubt, and they ask for proof of surgical strike, etc. Now, as far as the economy is concerned and as far as Hindenburg is concerned, no less than the Supreme Court vindicated what was being said, that Hindenburg is nothing but a complete hit job. Let me just make a couple of quotes. The Supreme Court said that nothing was conclusive in that report, that there was nothing credible in it. Where is the proof? And in fact, the Supreme Court directed that there should be investigation on Hindenburg, which was doing short selling by creating, yes, Hindenburg, by doing short selling and earning huge profits at the expense of Indian investors. So the Supreme Court has ordered the ED investigation or investigations into that. Now, I just have 2 or 3 questions. One, why was Rahul Gandhi attaching credibility to such an organization which itself was under question by the Department of Justice in the United States? 2, when the Supreme Court itself had categorically denied it, even then Rahul Gandhi was giving the importance to it. 3, Rahul Gandhi's own allies, including the likes of Sharad Pawar, Samajwadi Party, Trinamool Congress in the last parliament session, they themselves had distanced themselves from this issue. So clearly they also did not find that this issue was worth stalling parliament or creating the kind of economic upheaval or economic panic that they were trying to create. So the question really is that will Rahul Gandhi stoop to any level in Modi Virod and do Virod of Indian economy, cause damage to Indian economy? That seems to be the agenda, that to target the Indian state, they will go to any level, which includes damaging the Indian economy. But now the truth has come out, so at least they should categorically apologize, and they should have a legal price to it also that should be paid by them.
Now, this is very interesting because I'll just jog your memories back to a particular point, and Tehseen Poonawalla, please pay attention. Here is the Soros link, viewers. Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. We're just going to go by the money trail. Hard evidence. Soros sits on top. He funds something called the OCCRP, which is an agglomeration of journalists who portend to sort of be doing investigative journalism. Then you have the DOJ that has links to Soros, which have come out, at least the boss of the DOJ, the Attorney General at one level in America. And then you have a third pillar, an Asia Pacific panel on which Sonia Gandhi was one of the main instrumentalities, which argues for the breakup of India, i.e. to give freedom, azadi, whatever it is, to Jammu and Kashmir, the entire state. And this goes on for a long time before that is disbanded. So viewers, And Tehseen Poonawalla, you have to answer this, because the words that are being used is sponsored. That Hindenburg was sponsored. How do you know it wasn't? How do you know that it wasn't paid to do a hit job on Adani, cook some books up, some facts, put them out there? The Supreme Court itself is saying that it has no evidence, that that report doesn't amount to anything consistent with the facts. It's a bunch of lies. And you push it. You have to explain.
Rahul, thank you so much. So since you asked me to explain it to two fabulous speakers here, it's slightly grey. I'm very uncomfortable with the Honorable Supreme Court getting into economic issues, with absolute respect to the Supreme Court. Because when the Supreme Court or any court starts saying, why are you short selling? In free markets, short selling is a legitimate means. Not that I'm
Who went to the Supreme Court?
May I just let me explain my position so you may understand the greenness. Yes, these guys went, the left loonies went. I agree on that with that report. But it's difficult when you try and control free markets. You shouldn't control free markets. That is point one. People like Soros benefit from free markets, absolute benefit from free markets by shorting it. That is another issue whatsoever. So let's keep this out. Markets will find their levels. The issue out here is different that the opposition is raising. Hindenburg itself, one, is not some beacon of morality. It's a short selling firm. They're open about it. They short sell to make a profit. Therefore, they should not masquerade as some beacon of morality. Having said that, what the opposition is raising was issues of structural governance and institutional governance. Those are different from individual issues that are being raised. That's point number one. Point number two, this was so easy if only the SEBI in time would have given the structural answers that were required. The point is that markets will always find a level. For every short seller, there will be a long buyer. I don't think courts should get into there. What I do believe, however, is when reports like these come out, the institutions must react immediately so that the truth is completely out in front of people. More information, not less information.
It is so easy
That's where
tonight.
I come from.
So easy tonight, Tehseen Poonawalla, for you to say, oh, you know, they shouldn't have done this. Look at the consequences, viewers.
So the
Are we going to allow these people to just get away by saying, no, chalo, theek hai, it's okay, done. You know, the Supreme Court shouldn't have got into it. We should have been a little more careful. Look at the consequences. You stall Parliament, loss to Exchequer, loss, viewers, to legislation, legislative business that impacts our lives. Number two, misled the public to make wrong choices electorally during the Lok Sabha and after. And worse, caused irreparable loss to the ordinary Indian citizen. Do you know how much of a hole, viewers, was blown by this? I mean, look at the astounding number here. Can you believe $150 billion just goes in one day? And who makes the money? I don't even want to go there. Anand Dehadrai, I mean, how can today someone say, no, let's walk away? And then you go by, and the Supreme Court comes in and says, no, they've gone by this OCCRP report. I've got the exact quote. Now you tell me.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
Sorry, Rahul, very quickly. I very respectfully disagree with the gentleman who spoke before me. See, the SEBI can't act instantaneously. Let's understand this. I mean, this is a little childish to suggest that the SEBI should have come out immediately and given an explanation. I'm sorry, it doesn't work like that. Number one. Number two, who else do you expect other than the Supreme Court of India? Who else do you expect other than the Supreme Court of India to come in and look at an issue like this? For God's sake, they brought in 5 incredible individuals whose integrity cannot be questioned and who are experts in securities law. They came in, they analyzed the issue, and they said that there is nothing questionable. One final thing. Nobody is saying, as you know, the gentleman before me said, that, you know, short sellers do this and, you know, they're supposed to. Nobody is questioning the existence of short sellers, but short sellers or any other trader who acts on fraudulent information,
absolutely,
Rahul, it cannot be allowed. And then you have politicians like Mr. Gandhi and his you know, friends in the opposition who decide, you know, they just jump on the report.
And also Soros giving lectures.
Yes, of course.
Let me bring in Shehzad Poonawalla on the political point here. Yes. Okay. Both of you can respond to each other.
Just very quickly, and then Tehseen can respond to both.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'll just request Tehseen 30 seconds and then he can respond to everything consolidatedly. Look, if Tehseen is indeed saying that it was the structural issues that they wanted addressed, they did not need to rely on a sponsored foreign report which came one day before Parliament session, and immediately it is taken up, made into a big headline in the media, and then Parliament is put on hijack mode because of that report. They did not need to do that. Point number two, how come these structural issues, and Rahul, permit me, Adani's history started with Mundra port, which was given by the Gujarat government when it was a Congress government. No structural issue in the company at that time. First PVC business of Adani given by Rajiv Gandhi and Narasimha Rao. No structural issue in that company. Adani Enterprises gets registered under Congress in 94. No structural issue. 2006 to 2008, 6 SEZs handed over to him. No structural issue. Mining and power business grow in 2008 to 2013. He acquires an Australian mine to import coal. No structural issue. Becomes the biggest private sector thermal power plant player. No structural issue. 2013, solar power plant player. He becomes the biggest. He gets Vizhinjam port in Kerala. He gets Bengal Tajpur port. He gets business in Rajasthan run by Congress. He gets business in Chhattisgarh run by Congress. He gets business in Jharkhand run by JMM and Congress. He gets the Vizhinjam port. He gets the Dighi port in Maharashtra run by UBT. No structural issue. Structural issue is seen where? When he does investment in some state in Gujarat or some other state in which is BJP route. This structural issue kaisa hai Tehseen bhai? Please tell me how this structural issue
quick
stops at border of Rajasthan
and enters in the border of and Shahzad Poonawala pitched a question.
Another thing.
Okay.
I think what Shehzad says is correct.
Yeah.
If Rahul Gandhi has material available with him, or if Tehseen Poonawala has material with him to suggest that there is a structural issue or any
Bring
other
it out.
illegality,
Bring it
why
out.
don't you go and file a petition?
Yes.
Why
Tehseen
is it
Poonawala.
that you shoot off the back of somebody who's based in in the United States and then conveniently disown the report once the chap disbands itself? What nonsense is this?
disbands himself. Yes.
So I don't
Shoot
know.
and scoot. Yeah. Tehseen Poonawala.
So I don't know who was the lawyer who spoke before Shehzad. I don't have a screen in front of me, but definitely a very bad homework, juvenile-ish homework, because there are two reports. One is a SEBI report. One is the expert committee report, which is completely different. Sir, I never interrupted you. Sir, I never interrupted you.
With a supporter like you in the Congress. They don't need
if you want to, sir, you may please get personal with me. Sir, you may please get personal.
Let's not make value-loaded.
Okay,
let's not make value-loaded comments. No one has attacked you.
But may I please make my point?
But make it with restraint. Don't make personal jibes at anyone. That's not fair.
Rahul, it's very unfair. I never make any personal.
You also have said.
No, I did not use the personal adjective.
You, of course, you
the word childish was used first by the lawyer.
You can't
please,
say.
Rahul.
Anyhow, go ahead.
The word childish was first used by the lawyer, the same lawyer who claimed to have seen a crime being conducted and decided only when it was convenient to go report the crime, not when the crime was actually being conducted. So please, plead your morality to yourself and don't next time on live TV lecture me on morality. Hope I'm clear on that. Now let me come to the issues that I've been raising. There are two issues. You're
a cartoon.
That's the best you got.
Okay. Let's rise above this,
Get up from
gentlemen.
kindergarten.
Let's rise above this, please.
No wonder your
Okay, one second. Tehseen Poonawala, make your point. Make your point. Okay, make your point, Tehseen Poonawala. Please don't engage. Now make your point. Make your point. Please.
Thank you.
Yeah, make your point.
Yeah, I don't want to indulge with
don't. Please, so just make your point. Then I've not got all the time in the world.
You.
I have a minister waiting for me. We have to discuss the ISRO historic feat. Yes.
In any responsible country, it is the job of the opposition to ask questions of every institution. In every responsible country, it is the job of the government to protect the money of investors. Investors lost their money on this report because the government and its institutions did not react fast enough to even tell us a simple thing that there was no insider trading. It is their job to do it. Questions will be asked of all institutions, governments and institutions have to respond. If there is any foreplay, the government is duty bound to prosecute them. Why is Hindenburg
just a
not
minute.
being prosecuted
Here
in
is the problem. Here is the problem. There is an assumption. There is an assumption being made by Tehseen Poonawala prematurely. And I'll tell you why. They said the government must respond. Why should the government respond to what a private company is doing? No, one second. Just a minute. Tehseen Poonawala, when this statement... No, one second. When the government steps in, you say, no, please now listen to me. Please. When the government steps in, the Congress says, oh, they are defending a private player. Why should they be doing that? When it doesn't, they say the government should have stepped in. Hindenburg, one second. Hindenburg, some Joe Blow, some Joe Blow who's backed by a team who says himself had no experience of any financial sort. Zero. Puts out a report. The very next day, the shares tank. Because panic is created, viewers. This man needs to go to jail. This chap, Hindenburg chap, because his entire thesis was based on lies. That's what the Supreme Court is saying, I'm not saying. Supreme Court that was abetted and aided by, viewers, a technical committee. They are saying that he's a fraud. Now he's vamoosed, viewers, disappeared, shoot, scoot. And the Congress party doesn't know what to do. It's left with the can in its hands. And you know what that can carries, viewers, and today it's hit the fan. So I'm not going to say much more. And it's splattering everybody. And they don't know where to hide. And on the back of this, viewers, they held up Parliament. They've caused loss to the taxpayer. And, viewers, worse, as I told you, they've shaken investor confidence in the India growth story. This is a major assault on the Indian state. Bigger than the purported claims that were being made yesterday by Rahul Gandhi. Think about it. This was a real attack with fissile material.